We'll get some rest soon.
Pizza Hut.
Right now, I'm riding along the countryside. Oh, there's a fox done.
He's a fox. He wants to help you.
Yeah, the fox wants to say hi.
He wants to say hi. He wants you to love him.
Yeah.
It's like he's looking at you like, love me. Love me.
I mean, you can pet the foxes, so definitely I'm gonna go and pet the fox.
In the game?
Yeah, you can.
Sign me up. I'm buying that game.
Yeah, I just
You
pet
won
the
me
fox.
over.
And it bounces around and it's
It's
happy.
the one small feature that wins me over to the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the game, though, is worth it. It's looking at Game of the Year right now, and honestly, I could see it earning it.
But it still has to combat against the Henry Stickmin collection and whatever games.
There's Persona 5 Royal, which is a really good game. It's like, right now, there hasn't been many major releases that, in my opinion, have it as a gameplay perspective. I'm not even going to say stuff about the story. It's just more the gameplay. Like, it's roughly the same as last year, or as the last game, The Last of Us Part 1. And while I did love it, it did have slight improvements, but it's roughly the same. Granted, there are a couple new crafting.
Yeah, people said that the gameplay was good.
Gameplay was actually pretty decent. It's the same as, like, the first one. So, I really can't complain with that. When it came to more of the story, it just had some inconveniences. Not saying that was horrible, but it was just more of convenient. What I would have liked is something Deoda said if, instead of Joel getting it, which everyone should know Joel died in the story. Like, come on.
Yeah.
The game's been out long enough. Joel died. I could see it being more of a... If Dina died, actually, instead, and we got to play as Joel and Ellie exploring.
Yeah. I'll say, I think...
That would have probably gone
Joel,
better.
I would keep that. It's just... Well, hear me out. I would have allowed Joel to die to kill it the way that they did it.
Oh yeah, Joel dying. I'm alright with Joel dying. He's an old man in an apocalyptic scenario. Think about it. Is there really much? How much longer is he gonna live technically?
Yeah.
Like,
it's always
he's not
the older
gonna
guys
last
that go
much
first.
longer.
Well, actually, technically, it's the kids that go first because they're not usually very
still,
defensive.
think about it.
But yeah, the old geezers would. Yeah.
Who will fight?
Yeah, he's not exactly young. If he was younger, it probably would go better for him. Scene established in the first game at Pittsburgh that Joel wasn't an idiot. Joel was a really smart character. And he admitted he wasn't perfect. He'd been on both sides of ambushes.
Yeah.
And what Game Theory also pointed out was... I know I'm kind of like speaking for Matt Pat and all that, and he probably is a bit more knowledgeable on the subject than me. Compared to him actually doing the research, I just watched his video on it. But he pointed out, the doctor that was supposed to do the operation didn't study viruses. And with a fungal infection, there is no real way to make a vaccine for it. You have to find a way to kill the virus off.
No.
So,
That's
more
it.
of... But, who knows? It could have worked, though. Like, that's the thing. We're still trying to hold on to that hope. There could have been a chance that, hey, maybe during that time, he actually sat down and studied viruses and fungi in them, and could have been able to make one, but the whole ending to the first game was supposed to be, you don't know. It was supposed to be an ambiguous ending. Which would have been nice if they hadn't touched it, if they had left it where Ellie never learned and all that, Joel kept it to the grave. Because it's like, think about it. How much further are they really going to take it in The Last of Us? Like, there's not a lot to go off of now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, The Last of Us 2 ended on a very sour note. Do you know The Last of Us 2's ending?
Yeah, they let Abby live. That's all I really know.
Abby lived. Ellie lost everything. Dina, her lover's gone. She left her home. Can't play the guitar anymore that Joel taught her because
it's destroyed, is it?
No, she lost 2 of her fingers.
Oh my god.
So she can't play the guitar anymore, and since she can't play the guitar anymore, basically, Ellie doesn't have much left to be happy about in that, so it ended on a really sour note. And while I know that the ending to The Last of Us 2 was supposed to be more of a story about hate and all that, which I get that. The first story was about love and all that, and letting go of the past with Joel and his daughter. I understand that. I did like it. And it makes sense that the second game be about hate and all that, you know, Ellie wanting revenge. But
they put it so horribly.
It did end quite horribly.
Someone in pain.
Plus, as well, like, there was many ways they could have done the story in that if they wanted us to care about Abby as a character, I would have actually liked it if they had put Abby as us seeing her good actions first. Before her going after Joel, and maybe instead of it being an NPC character we have no choice but to kill at the end of the game, maybe make it to where she's David's daughter from the first game. You don't know David, but he was a psychopath. Or, well, yeah, he was a psychopath. I'd consider him a psychopath. From the first game, where he eventually just led a group of cannibals.
Okay.
And Ellie did kill him. Ellie killed him trying to protect herself. But,
Oh. Forgive me. I thought you were one of them.
So, that was all we knew. But he was a prominent character in,
It wasn't enough for the Mongols to kill me.
He was a prominent character in The Last of Us. I would have been happy if Abby was his daughter.
Master Izo's son.
And all that, and she was trying to find the 2 that caused him to die.
Was his best.
Be like, oh,
I could restore it if I had
yeah,
the
that would
tools.
make sense. It would tie
These
it back.
killers have taken our home too.
I'll
Yeah.
get the tools, and we'll honor your father's memory by restoring his work.
Thank you.
And since
our home is just up the mountain.
everything that happened, they made it with the doctor and that, it really didn't fit well. Because we're just like, okay, should I really care about Abby as much? Like, I understand her point. She still lost a parent. But there's no real, like, harsh truth and all that behind, like, this. It's an apocalypse. People are gonna die.
It's gonna happen.
And he was a doctor. Like, what were you expecting?
Yeah, it's not guaranteed that he's gonna live.
It's not guaranteed, yeah. Also, I just think the way they built Abby up kind of just they really didn't make it to where we cared enough about the character.
Those tools must be.
Yeah.
We didn't care enough about, say, we didn't care enough about the characters. We just never got to know about them. And sorry that I cut out. Like, occasionally I get into like fights and that, and I try to focus a bit more. Because Ghost is a bit harder for the way combat is. So,
I understand.
yeah.
What type of weapons do you use in the game?
In Ghost of Tsushima... Alright, actually, yeah, we could take a bit break from The Last of Us 2. Like, it wasn't a horrible game, but...
Who are you?
It's something better to talk about
What do you
Ghost,
want?
considering I'm playing it.
Yeah.
In Ghost of Tsushima, you get a katana at the start and a Tanto sword. And for ranged weapons, you can get a half bow and a long bow for bows. And I know you like historical weapons. The longbow is actually a Yumi bow.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really good.
Haven't heard of those in a long time.
Yeah, you can also get a blowgun to be able to shoot darts out, and you can get throwing black powder bombs, sticky bombs, smoke bombs, kunai, wind chimes, and firecrackers.
How do sticky bombs work?
Actually, it has a description. It you coat the bombs in pitch, roofing tar. And then you just throw them by a wooden handle that's not coated.
Master Izel, I'm glad you're alive.
Because I remember in the Henry Stickmin...
Oh yeah, with the
stealing
way it
diamond.
portrayed the Halo ones.
I'll take you to him.
Yeah. He had a point there in the, like, aftermath. I always wondered how those things worked.
Oh yeah, and it actually did I think in Halo it did have a description of how they were able to throw them. They had the gloves that were specially made so they wouldn't stick to the glove. Because I think that
Henry wasn't wearing
apparently
the
was a
gloves.
problem.
Statues is damaged.
I think that originally was one of the
I
things.
created that to honor my son's birth. It's not my finest
Henry was not wearing the gloves.
Disagrees.
Mamoru is a good son. But his
Yeah, I
eye for
think they
art has
pointed that
always
out.
been lacking.
How could you think that creating a statue for Kublai Khan is more important than your family? Or your own people?
Family and nations wither and die.
Yeah,
tender
it's just so
curve
funny though with a lot of the
fingers,
things they come up
the
with
fierce
for the
stance
Henry
of a
Stickmin
stone
series.
warrior in mid-strike. They are eternal.
You can have
I
both your
know.
family and your art.
Like, the thing that was so exciting about the game was that it can make you think one thing, and then it's actually the other thing.
Oh
Like, it
yes,
plays a little thing on logic.
Serve my art.
the teleporter is the best way to point out the subverting your expectations, because every game we all
Yeah.
know it fails, except for a couple times.
It was
And so because of
twice.
it, you're always going back to see what's gonna happen this time.
Yeah. Like in the third game, it teleported you straight to the top of the roof, but way above it.
Yes.
It worked, sort of. And then in the last game, it worked almost perfectly. Teleported you around to different places, but it got you to where you needed to go. It's still funny how all the places that did end up, though. Let's see, in the first game you teleported into a wall. Second game you teleported straight in front of a shooting range. Third game, I already said it. Fourth game, it teleported you into a basically endless void. What about in fleeing the complex? Where did it teleport you to?
I think
It was obviously a
complex,
game reference.
yeah. I gotta remember exactly where it teleported, because I do know it teleported you to a
Definitely
game
was a game Yeah. It was obvious because at the end of the fail it said GG no re. which is obvious slang for a good game, no rematch.
Oh, I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Yes. I think what it was, I know it was a war game. It was a war game. I can't remember the exact game it was though. But what happened was shit, I don't even know where I'm going with that one. But I do know that was a game reference. I can't remember exactly which game. God.
But you have like the feeling you know.
I have a feeling I know the game. Like I've seen it somewhere. But the problem is I don't know where I saw it. God, and like knowing my luck, someone's gonna watch this and point out my stupidity and probably my rambling.
Yeah. What are the chances of someone famous watching any of our streams?
If that happened and I actually had someone like spread it around and the algorithm was my friend for a little bit and actually helped me, you realize how fast I'd probably drop to part-time in my job and then do this full time?
Yeah.
Alright, but I gotta admit though, Ghost of Tsushima is a fun game. Honestly, well worth it. Like, the hype that was built up around it was well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially just traveling around the land of Tsushima is beautiful. Like, if you see any of the screenshots of the game, you'll definitely be amazed by how much time they put into it.
I saw the cover and that was good enough.
Yeah, it's like, they put a lot of time into this game for crafting it. And the fact that they're still updating it is amazing for how they're going about it. They want this game to do really well. And it is.
Honestly, The Last of Us 2 is like the video game equivalent of the last Airbender movie.
Oh, that's a rough comparison. I mean, it is not wrong, because looking at the last Airbender movie versus the series, which, God, if anyone's missed it, they're wrong. They need to watch that series. It is well worth it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
I've watched it front and back.
Yeah, it's well worth it. And when I picked up
And then the movie
was a
huge
just spit on it. Which was screwed up, because it's like, come on. It's the last Airbender. Like, that's an amazing universe and a lot to go off of. How did you screw it up?
Mm-hmm. Like, there's no real excuse for screwing it up. M. Night Shyamalan, though, the guy who directed the movie, he's always had a lot of criticism for most of his films.
It makes sense, though. I mean, with the way he did The Last Airbender, it was just bad.
Oh, yeah. Like, he showed little care or respect to the original series.
Which does suck, because it's like...
And then, when you get The Last of Us, you have the first game, which was...
The first game
praised.
is considered a masterpiece among gaming. It's not perfect. I will give it that. It's not perfect. Gameplay is very simple. Not necessarily, like, complex for a lot of things that you do. And if you know an area well enough, you realize how often you could sneak around an entire place without ever getting noticed. Like,
Yeah.
I wound up doing that at one point. I went on a complete stealth playthrough when I played the game, like, constantly. And I wound up being able to go through the whole game essentially with just the bow and not getting detected. And mind you, the bow is
Yeah,
not
the bow's
that
like a
good
really
a weapon.
quiet weapon.
The bow is. It's not the best in The Last of Us' story for it. There's no upgrading your quiver size. And if your arrow breaks,
As long as you know how
that's
to
less.
aim, I'd say it's a really good option.
It is a good option if you know how to aim. As long as you know how to aim, you'll do good.
Kind of like referring back to Avatar: The Last Airbender, the UN archers. They were elites. They were non-benders, but they were so good at archery they could take out the Avatar.
Yeah.
But then you get the second. But then again, that's the first game. So when you look at the second game,
The second
it's
game's
just like
problem
such
mainly came
disrespect
from,
to the original.
it had too many people trying to, say your game should be made with this,